Giving all praise to the Most High and His Son. Back again, family, on another Wednesday. Got a real good class for us today. Hopefully, the Lord will, man, we'll be able to get out of here a little bit earlier today. Today, we're going to be talking about our spirit and talking about the house it is that we dwell in. And what we use the house or this temple or this tent or this covering that we have, what it is to be used for. And we're going to be talking about, using your temple and using the house and your house being a reflection of worship and prayer, supplication, righteousness, enduring hardness as being a good soldier, practicing the righteous rehearsals of the Lord, continuing to have the authority and dominion and power over death, rather than the house of merchandise, which is the house of unrighteousness, using your temple as for unrighteous things, buying and selling. We'll be bringing that up and talking about that again today. So it's going to be very basic, family. We're just going to be going back and forth between the contrast of the spirits of the house. And then it's going to be pretty simple today. And hopefully brothers and sisters will get edified. We're going to start off in the book of Isaiah, chapter 56 and verse 1. And what the theme of the class today is, family, is that, we're going to be talking about your pendulum. And what your pendulum is, the swings that we go from righteousness to unrighteousness in our lives.
Work it out.
Okay, a pendulum swing. And how that your house or that your temple was made to be a reflection of the Most High. And how this house is to be kept sacred. This house is a representation of a covenant, of an agreement.
Teach.
That the vessel or the spirit that's within this house will be a reflection of the same spirit that rose up Christ and gave us an opportunity to be able to live again. That spirit that resides within that temple, that spirit is a resemblance or it's a mirror image made in the image of the Most High and the Son, that temple. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, of understanding and learning that, we're just vessels and the potter has power over the clay to be able to shape the vessel in the manner of that the Lord pleases. And then you have vessels fitted for salvation, and then you have vessels that are fitted for destruction, or houses, or temples, or sanctuaries. Right? Us as Israelites, us as Hebrews, we have committed ourselves to dedicate ourselves of our house, our life, our temple. The spirit that resides in this vessel is going to mirror the image of the Most High and the Son, and it's going to mirror the image of peace. It's going to mirror the image of prayer. It's going to mirror the image of righteousness. It's going to mirror the image of worship, full submission to the Spirit, so that our lights may shine. And this house, or these houses, it's available to all people. And we're going to start that off from the beginning. Isaiah 56 and 1. Read this.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 56. Thus said the Lord, keep ye judgment.
Keep judgment and keep understanding in your path of illumination. Read.
And do justice.
And do the correct things and do righteousness and do those things that you have been taught from your youth. Read.
For my salvation is near to come.
The understanding of illumination, of righteousness, salvation, is near to be revealed in your life. Read.
And my righteousness to be revealed.
To be shown in front of every man the Lord's righteousness. Read.
Blessed is the man that doeth this.
Blessed is the man or the one man that lives their life according to these things in belief and have the actions that follows the belief in their actions. Read.
And the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting.
That liveth in the Lord's rest and not depending on his own work from polluting the works that the Lord has already made. Read.
And keepeth his hand from doing any evil.
Understanding that to a man that knoweth to do good and he do not do that good, to him it is saying, read.
Neither let the son of the stranger that had joined himself to the Lord,
even the stranger that have committed and joined himself unto the Lord. Read.
Speak, saying, the Lord had utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree.
Keep reading.
For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me.
Unto the strangers that keep the Sabbath and choose the things in their life that pleases the Lord. Read.
And take hold of my covenant.
And understand and dwell in my house. Take hold of my covenant to see and keep justice and judgment, and for the salvation and righteousness to be revealed. Read.
Even unto them will I give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than of the sons and of the daughters.
This is the Lord saying that even in his house, and it's what we're talking about today. We're talking about that house and the representation of the house. And how the Lord's house, this house that he's given up unto the strangers, that he's given up unto the eunuchs, that he's given up unto his children. He's talking about this house. Verse 5 says, for even unto them I will give unto them mine house. Right? This is what the basis of the class is going to be talking about. We're talking about this house. Or we're talking about this temple. Or when you read in verse 4, it says that taking hold of the covenant, the house, the temple, the covenant, the agreement. Even unto them, where the Lord said that he will open up his mansions and he will give unto his house a place within his walls, within his covering, within his protection. And the ones that is in that house, live in that house, he gave the power to them to be the sons and the daughters of God, and they shall never be separated from the unblemished Lamb. Read.
I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off.
And this name shall not be cut off, the sons and the daughters of God dwelling in God's house. Read.
Also the sons of the strangers that join themselves to the Lord.
The sons of the strangers, the foreigners, that also commits themselves in their mind, body, and soul to worship the living God of the Hebrews that join themselves. Read.
To serve him.
And to understand and to serve him with all their heart, soul, and mind. Read.
And to love the name of the Lord.
In the essence, in the righteousness, in the justice, in judgments, to fall in love with his essence. Read.
To be his servant.
And to understand, to worship, and serve upon beneath the living God. Read.
Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting.
That liveth in the works of the Lord instead of the works of their own hands. Read.
And taketh hold of my covenant.
And establishes themselves in righteousness in the covenant of the Lord. Read.
Even them.
Hold up, read it again.
Even them.
So he's talking about the righteous that wants to dwell in his house. The Lord said that he will reveal these things of his righteousness and his salvation. And he's going to build up these walls around you. He's going to allow you access into this house. And into this house, these are the ones of the covenants of the people that the Lord said that he will give power to be the sons and daughters of God, to be able to dwell in his house, even the strangers, to love his name, to be his servants, from keeping the Sabbath, from polluting it, and taking hold onto the house, taking hold onto the covenant, even them, those spirits. The Lord said that he will do what? Read.
Will I bring to my holy mountain.
The Lord said that he would bring those spirits into his holy mountain, into his house, into his tabernacle, to take hold unto his covenant. The sons of the strangers, even his children, even the eunuchs, he will bring unto his holy mountain to make with them an everlasting covenant. Read.
And make them joyful in my house of prayer.
Hold up, read that again.
And make them joyful.
And the Lord said that he will put the spirit of truth and righteousness and joy, giving them the fruits of the spirit, peace, love, happiness, and long suffering, joy and praise of the Most High in his house of prayer. Read.
Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices.
Their ways and how they live their life, their sacrifices up to the Lord. Read.
Shall be accepted upon mine altar.
The Lord said that he will accept these things upon his house, and his house is a house of prayer and worship and understanding, getting close unto him to reveal his righteousness and salvation. Read.
For mine house.
Hold up, read that again.
For mine house.
See, the Lord said that his temple, and that his covenant, and that his agreement, and that his love, and his tabernacle, and his pavilion, and his house shall be a house. Read.
shall be called an house of prayer for all people.
For how many people?
For all people.
For what people?
For all people.
See, this covenant in this house that we're talking about right here, see, the Lord said he was going to bring these spirits into his everlasting holy mountain, and he was going to give them full of joy and full of righteousness. He was going to reveal unto them the righteousness, his salvation, and his judgment and justice. He was going to give unto them fruits to be able so they won't be called a dry tree. And even into that house right there, the Most High said he give power for the sons and daughters to give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off, even of the sons of the strangers and the eunuchs when they come into this house.
Bring it out.
When they come into this tabernacle.
Teach.
When they come into this covenant. When they come into this agreement. When they come into this house.
That's right.
Shall learn to love the Lord in his name, and shall be his servants. And everyone that keepeth the Sabbath, they shall take hold unto the covenant. And the Lord said he will bring them into his holy mountain, and he will give them joy in the house of prayer. That's what we're going to be talking about today, brothers and sisters, is that house of prayer. Each and every one of us Hebrews, we got to strive to get into that house. And that house is not open, and those doors are not open unto everyone, because in the house of the Most High, in that prayer, in that tabernacle, there's a thing that we have to do. We have to enter in through that door. And we're going to the book of Revelations, chapter 3. We're going to the book of Revelations, chapter 3. We're talking about the Lord said that his house is a house of prayer. And this house is for his children. This house is for the sons of the strangers who join on to the Most High. The house of prayer is a house of prayer for all people, for all spirits who want to come in and serve the Most High in the Son. This place, this tabernacle, and this covenant gives the power of the sons and daughters of God so they can defeat sin. And they will have an everlasting name that won't be cut off, that will learn to love his name and to be his servants and to keep hold of the covenant. And their sacrifices and their offerings will be accepted. This house right here, this house, in order to enter into this house, you got to get by the door.
Bring it out.
And that door, according to this house, that door is Christ.
Teach.
Because Christ said that I am the door. In this house right here, everyone is not able to enter into this house. We're talking about the house of prayer. We're talking about the house of worship. We're talking about the house of praise. We're talking about the house of righteousness. We're talking about loving the Most High, to being his servants, finding everything it is that you can in your power to do things that is well-pleasing unto the Most High.
That's right.
Finding things within your spirit to circumcise the flesh, to not wanting to fulfill the flesh and wanting to fulfill the spirit. That house is a house of prayer. It's open unto all people. That house is open unto his children. It's open unto the eunuchs. It's open unto the sons of the strangers, who all in their collective conscience have made the decision to leave out of Egypt, or leave out of spiritual abundance and spiritual darkness, and walk on a path of ascension to go into Jerusalem, which is above is free.
That's right.
And to enter into that door, and to enter into that place, and to enter into that covenant, to enter into that place.
Bring it out.
You have to open and you have to enter into that door. We need the book of Revelations, chapter 3, in verse 20. Read this.
Book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 20.
See, the Most High said that he will give his house, this house. Again, we're talking about the house. And it's very beautiful. His righteousness and his salvation will be revealed unto them, that the Lord will give access into this house. Even unto them he gave the power to be the sons and the daughters of God, the sons of the strangers, the eunuchs, even unto his children, and even unto them he gave his house. The Lord gave his house. And he built up walls around it. And he built up securities around it. And the ones that enter into this house, he gave them power to have an everlasting name, to love the Lord, to be his servants. The ones that keep it themselves from polluting the Sabbath, understanding the Lord already did the work, that man is not saved through the works of his hands. and taking hold unto the covenant unto them when he bring unto his holy mountain, and he will give joy, he will give praise, he will give worship, he will make happy, he will have joy, he will have in the spirit, he will have them to get their eyes and to be able to see and to be able to walk. Unto them he will make them full in the house of prayer.
That's right. Teach.
Because the Lord said that his house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. But that house is guarded by the door. You have to enter into a house. You have to get in through a door. And that door is Christ.
That's right.
Christ said he is the door.
Teach.
And absolutely as well, Christ said that he is the way.
That's right.
We in the book of Revelation chapter 3 and verse 20. Read this.
Behold, I stand at the door.
The Most High said, and Christ said, I stand at the door. Read.
And knock
at the door. Read.
If any man hear my voice.
If any man hear my voice, read.
And open the door.
And find themselves in front of Christ and allows Christ to enter into his spirit and finally opens up that door to his heart. Read.
I will come into him.
And then the spirit of Christ will now enter into that house and that tabernacle and give him the fruits of the spirit to practice everlasting righteousness. Read.
And will sup with him.
And will be with him, and wisdom will be times with him or her, building up him or his or her spirit every single day, making them fall in love with the Most High and his Son, showing them all of the ways of righteousness and the ways of prophecies and the ways of bearing one another's burdens and doing the things that is well pleasing unto the Lord, and I will sup with him. Read.
And he with me.
And we go into the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 1. See, this house right here, this house of prayer to where it's open up unto all people. See, this house of prayer right here to where the Lord said that he was going to give the power of the sons and daughters of God to hold on to the everlasting covenant, and their name was never going to be blotted out. This house right here that's opened up into the sons of the strangers, into the eunuchs, into his children,
that's
where
right.
all of the sacrifices are going to be accepted unto the Most High. This house right here is guarded by the door of Christ.
Bring it up.
It's guarded by the door of Christ. See, this is the house of prayer. Know ye not that your temple, that ye are the temple of the Most High?
Bring it up.
Ye are the pavilion. We live underneath the pavilion, that we live underneath the tabernacle of the Most High. Why do you think that we practice sleeping in tents for 7 days?
Bring it out.
Out in the woods and out in the state parks and things of that nature. To show us these things right here. That the Most High has a house for his children, for his worshipers, for his servants. And that house is a house of peace. That house is a house of prayer. That house is a house of worship.
That's right.
And behold, I stand at the door and knock, and if any man will hear my voice, his sheep hear his voice. And the Lord said that he will open that door up into his heart, and he will come in unto him. He will sup and he will sup with him, and he with me. And to him that overcometh, I will grant with me to sit in the throne and overcome, that sit with my Father. That house right there is the house that all Hebrews should try to be going in right there, man.
That's right.
And at that door, in order to enter into the door of the house of prayer, stands Christ.
Bring it out.
We in the book of John, chapter 10. See, this is very important, okay, brothers and sisters, that we really understand that, you know, we want to get into that house. You have to open up that door. And when you finally open up that door to your heart to allow Christ to come in, he'll sup with you and he'll come into you and he'll build with you and he'll give you guidance and wisdom and understanding. He'll let you live your life finally by truth instead of lies. Finally by justice and righteousness instead of injustice and unrighteousness. Finally to live in surety and to live in peace and to live in understanding instead of walking like the blind in the noonday.
That's right.
See, this is the house of prayer.
Bring it up.
This is the house of peace. We in the book of John, chapter 10. We in the book of John, chapter 10, in verse 6. Read this.
St. John, chapter 10 and verse 6.
Read.
This parable spake Christ unto them.
Because the whole Bible is an allegory. And we've been really getting into the spirit here lately, man, with the teachers, with the brothers and sisters, with the revelations of the word, being able to see things very clearly. See, Christ, when he spoke, all things Christ spoke in parables and similitudes, not in realistic things. These are parables and similitudes when the Most High is teaching us and giving us wisdom and understanding. Read.
But they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them.
Being of a carnal mind, it's hard to understand the spiritual things that is being taught to carnal people. Read.
Then said Christ unto them again.
Then Christ explained unto them in parables again to get them the full understanding of revelations of the Spirit. Read.
Verily, verily, I say unto you,
Understand that this is the truth. Read.
I am the door of the sheep.
Read that again.
I am the door of the sheep.
Christ said that house, man, that you're trying to enter in, that house of peace, that house that is up into all people who want to enter in, who dedicate their lives unto righteousness, who find the things that is well pleasing unto the Lord, who doesn't tarry their feet, or doesn't tarry their ways into fully turning themselves over into righteousness, who finds every opportunity that it is and lives their lives as if that today is the last day of their lives to be able to fulfill the righteousness of the Most High. He says that I am the door to that house. I am the door to the house of prayer. I am the door to the house of peace. I am the door to the house of righteousness.
That's right.
I'm the door. I am the door. And I'm the way. See, we're talking about the house of peace, and we talk about the house of prayer. See, most of the times, brothers and sisters, you'll hear that, you'll think it's talking about your church building, right? Or like your synagogue. See, the Most High is dealing with our spirits, and the Most High is dealing with our temples. He says that I am the door of the house to the sheep. Read.
All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them.
Keep reading.
I am the door.
Read that again.
I am the door.
The door of the house to where we are trying to enter in. We're talking about the house of prayer. We're talking about the house of righteousness and worship. That door, I am the door. That house that we are trying to enter in, we have to enter into that house by one way, and that is the front door, and that is the straight way. And to enter into that house, that door that you must open is Christ. Read.
That's right. By me. If any man enter in.
If any man comes into the house of prayer, into the house of righteousness, and the house of peace, enter in into that door. Read.
He shall be saved.
He shall be saved from spiritual darkness, and he shall be initiated into everlasting light. Read.
And shall go in and out.
And have spiritual authority to roam plains. Read.
And find pasture.
And all of the pasture and the good feeding and the eating, that sheep will now have access because he entered the house of prayer, entered the house of righteousness, entered the house of the Most High through the door of Christ.
That's right.
We in the book of John, chapter 2 and verse 13. We in the book of John, chapter 2 and verse 13. Show some love in the chat. Put a one in the chat, brothers and sisters, if you understand that. I know we're starting early, but put a one in the chat. See, we're talking about the house of prayer, and we're talking about the house of righteousness. And that house, the Lord said, that house is open unto all people, man.
That's right.
That house is open unto all people.
That's right.
To the eunuchs and to the sons of the strangers, to the ones that want to cleave unto the Most High. It's unto his children. It's unto the ones that want to have prayer and worship. See, it's unto the ones, man, that's done with unrighteousness. That house, man, is open unto the ones that is done with, sin, who wants the power to be able to defeat sin. The ones who have the opportunity and the ones who is done with Pharaoh. The ones who's done with unrighteousness. The ones who is done with those things. He's going to open up that house. And into that house, the only way that you can get into that house, you have to go by the door. And Christ said he is the door. Christ is the one that is guarding the door. And if any man come into that house by this door, and if any man come and open up this door, then that man will have an opportunity. That one man will have opportunity to have pasture for the rest of their life. You see how the Most High and the Son talking to us? You see how the Most High is dealing with us? You see how the Most High is giving us spiritual understanding. See, that's the house that each and every one of us must strive to get to. We're talking about the house of prayer. We're talking about the house of righteousness. We're talking about the house of worship that is available unto all people. And the only way to get into that house, you have to open up the door of Christ. And if you open up the door of Christ to your heart, then he will come up into you and he will sup with you and he'll give you knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And he will give you that same spirit that rose him up, that gave him the power and the authority and the victory over death.
That's right.
Yep. See, that's that house. The house of the Most High. The house of prayer. The house of worship. We in the book of John, chapter 2, in verse 13. Read this.
St. John, chapter 2 and verse 13.
Read.
And the Jews' Passover was at hand.
Passover season. Read.
And Christ went up to Jerusalem.
Went up to his ascension, up into the high place in the high mountains. Read.
And found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves and the changers of money.
Seen in the Most High's house, or in the temple, or in the covenant, or in the pavilion, or in the tent, or in the house, he found ones that was in the house that sold oxen and sold sheep and sold doves and the changers of money, the merchants sitting. Read.
And when he had made a scourge of small cords.
Getting himself being prepared for the gospel, to being able to be preached of the small cords of the word. Read.
He drove them all out of the temple.
He went into the Lord's house and into the temple, into the sanctuaries, into the synagogue, and drove out the merchants and the money changers and the oxen and the doves and the ones that were selling in the Lord's house. Read.
And the sheep.
And the sheep. Read.
And the oxen.
And the oxen. Read.
And poured out the changers' money.
And poured out the change of money through the small cords, the scourge of small cords, being prepared by the word to be able to throw out the changers of money. Read.
And overthrew the tables.
And overthrew the tables inside of the house to cleanse out the Lord's house. Read.
And said unto them.
And he said unto them, and he explained, with given unto the word unto the ones that sold doves. Read.
That sold doves. Take these things hence.
Take these things hence from out of the Lord's house. Read.
Make not my Father's house.
Make not the Father's house the house of prayer and the house of worship, the house of a sanctuary for those spiritual believers who believe in the Most High in spirit and in truth. Make not my house. Read.
And house of merchandise.
And that's the other house, or the house of merchandise, is as Hebrews, that you don't want to be in that house, or we're not going to live in that house. You see, the Bible, again, is written in duality form. You've heard me say that over the years, hundreds, probably thousands of times of now.
Right.
Because that's the life that we live in. You can turn the light on or you can turn the light off.
Teach.
Okay? So when we're dealing with these things, right, you got sacrifice and you got obedience, you got righteousness and you have unrighteousness, you have the children of the day, you have the children of the night, you have the old covenant, the new covenant. The Bible is written to us in a duality form. And today what we're talking about that house of prayer and that house of worship that is available unto all. And the only way to get into that door, you have to enter into that door. And Christ said he is the door. And then you have another house as a house of merchandises that you can also dwell into. See, the Most High don't dwell in temples that's made with hands, right? You know, the house of prayer and the house of merchandise, the house and the temples and things and the synagogues that you go into every Sabbath. You know, those things are important. But when the Lord is talking about this house of merchandise and the Lord is talking about this house of prayer, the Lord is talking about you.
That's right. Teach.
In those gates, brothers and sisters, we got to enter into those gates in that house of prayer. Not the house of merchandise, but we got to get into the house of righteousness. Not the house of unrighteousness. We got to get into the house of worship. Not getting into the house of buying and selling. We got to get into the house of prayer. Not get into the house of vain self-worship. To these houses that you can dwell in, that you can live in. You see, the children of Israel, they had to dwell in Egypt, and they had to make a trip out to Jerusalem. See, Egypt was their house for a particular time. And then now we are traveling to our new home, to our new location, to our new mansions, to our new house. And that house is located in Jerusalem.
Bring it out.
Which is above is free. And which is the mother of us all, which is the house of us all, which is the temple of us all, which is the pavilion of us all, which is for the covenant of us all.
Bring it out.
We in the book of Psalms, chapter 100 and verse 1, the house of prayer. We must live in the house of prayer. We must dwell in the house of prayer. Those gates, we got to be running B times to the house of righteousness, to the house of prayer. You know, we're not supposed to be sitting up tents and selling doves and selling oxen and buying and selling and negotiation and being on the same lands of the ships with the merchants and living in a house of unrighteousness, and that house is full of merchandise. We're on our path, man, to that house of righteousness. We're on our path, to that house of prayer, to that house of worship. See, we on that path, and the only way to get into that house, you got to open up that door.
That's
And
right.
when you open up that door, man, you allow Christ to come into your life. He'll sup with you, and he'll deal with you. And he'll build you up, give you knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. He'll make you a light that sits up on a hill that cannot be hid, to be an ensign, to be an example, that light to be able to shine out to the four corners. But you have to go through the door, and it's only one door, and Christ is the door to the house.
Teach.
There's no other way. We in the book of Psalms, chapter 100 and verse 1. Read this.
The book of Psalms, chapter 100. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord.
Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Your example of your life, of how you live, a joyful noise unto the Lord. The noise that you live. Read.
All ye lands.
In the lands and the islands and the rivers and the valleys and the mountains and the hills. Read.
Serve the Lord with gladness.
Serve the Lord with gladness. Read.
Come before his presence with singing.
Come before his presence with prayer and worship. Read.
Know ye that the Lord, he is God.
It's only one God. Read.
It is he that made
It is
us.
the Lord of the creations. Read.
And not we ourselves.
And not we ourselves have the power. Read.
We are his people.
The Lord gave us his essence to be able to be a light and to be an image on the planet. Read.
And the sheep of his pasture.
And he gives us green pastures to where that we can graze gracefully and to be fed with the everlasting bread. Read.
Enter into his gates with thanksgiving.
That door, enter into that door, man, with thanksgiving and love and thanksgiving and worship and praise, full of love and joy and thankfulness that the Lord gave us an opportunity to change our lives. Read.
And into his courts with praise.
And when you enter into those gates, or you come into that door to the Most High, into his house of prayer, into his worship, when you enter into that door, you open up your heart to let Christ come into your heart. Come into those courts of the house with praise.
That's
Read.
right. Be thankful unto him.
And when you come into the house of the Lord and you enter into his courts, be thankful unto him that he allowed you into his spiritual house. Read.
And bless his name.
Every opportunity that it is with our lives to put his name on a pedestal, to bless it and put it upon on high. Read.
For the Lord is good.
See, the Lord is good. The Lord is gracious. The Lord is righteous. The Lord is love. The Lord is mercy. The Lord is knowledge and wisdom. The Lord is pleasure. The Lord is pain. The Lord is all. Read.
His mercy is everlasting.
The Lord is mercy. It says it is everlasting. Read.
And his truth endureth to all generations.
So again, we're talking about entering into that house. We're talking about entering into that palace, entering into that kingdom, entering into that city. Right? It's all like interchangeable and the same, right? It's the same thing. And when you enter into those gates, man, the scripture says when you enter into those gates, you got to have thanksgiving in your system, man.
That's right.
You got to leave those old things that are behind, those things that keep you in Egypt, that keep you in darkness. You got to leave those things behind.
Bring it out.
For those that are Christ, or those that are walking with Christ, you or those that are risen with Christ, you seek those things that are above. And when you enter into those courts of the house, right, you got to go through the door of Christ. And when you enter into those gates, you got to come in with some thanksgiving and with some joy about yourself. And when you come into the courts of the house, or come into the courts of the kingdom, or come into the courts of the city, into Jerusalem, enter into those courts with praise.
That's right.
And be thankful. And be thankful.
That's right.
Be thankful that the Most High chose you. Be thankful that, on your path and on your journey, the Lord gave you the correct path to find his house, to find his kingdom, to find his palace, to find his city. The children of Israel, when we were wandering in Egypt, the Israelites, they took different paths. Some was in Rephidim, some was in sin, some was, when the children of Israel, when they was in Egypt, they was in the land of Goshen. on their path, man, to find this palace. And some fell away. Some fell by the wayside. Some got put to death. Some lusted for the darkness and for the unrighteousness of the other gates of Egypt, and other waters, and other drinks, and other food, and wanted to enter into those gates. Enter into the Most High's house and be thankful with him, and enter into those gates with praise. Enter into those gates, enter into that door, and be thankful unto the Most High, because Christ is that door. It's only one way to the door. It's only one path to the Lord's house, and that is through the door of Christ.
That's right. Teach.
We in the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 18. We in the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 18. See, we're talking about the house of prayer. We're talking about the house of righteousness. And think about, where it is that you are right now. Where are you dwelling, brothers and sisters? Are you dwelling in the house of prayer, in the house of righteousness currently at the moment? And we're going to be talking about, spiritually, you can have instability in your spirit, or you can not have a residency in your spirit. Sometimes you're in the house of righteousness and you pack your bags, and you go in the house of merchandise, and you pack your bags and go in the house of righteousness, pack your bags and go in the house of merchandise. You're like the Bible calls it a vagabond. Not having a place to stay.
Teach.
Not having a home. Not having any dwellings to dwell in. A vagabond. See, we're talking about dwelling in the Most High in his son's house. We're talking about the house of prayer. We're talking about the house of worship. We're talking about the house of praise. And we're also talking about the house of merchandise too as well. We in the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 18. Read this.
Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 18.
Start at verse 17.
Verse 17.
Read.
Learn to do well.
Learn to do well. Read.
Seek judgment.
Seek the righteous things and judgments in your life to enter into the house. Read.
Relieve the oppressed.
Find the burdens of brothers and sisters and relieve the oppressed of their spiritual burdens. Read.
Judge the fatherless.
Bring the children of the strangers and the eunuchs that have no covering. Give them a covering for their God. Read.
Plead for the widow.
Keep reading.
Come now, let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool.
We in the book of Psalms, chapter 84 and verse 1. Dwelling in that house. Dwelling in the temple of the Most High. The house of prayer. The house of righteousness. The only way that any man can enter into the house of righteousness, he must go through that straight door. And Christ said that I am the door. That if any man come up into that door and knock, that Christ will open the door. And once Christ opened the door, he'll come into you. And all of those burdens that you have, brothers and sisters, the Lord will take those things up off of you.
That's right. Teach.
The unrighteousness on how sometimes that sin has the power and dominion over us to keep us in the same locations, or to keep us prisoners in the house of prison, right? Being spoiled and being robbed, being prisoners. The Most High will give us the power to be free from that.
That's right. Teach.
And once you're free, you're not able to come up out of prison, or you're not able to come up out of bondage, or you're able to come up out of slavery. In the house of merchandise, right? In the house of merchandise is merchants, brothers and sisters, is buying and selling. It's a continual fire that you have to kindle to stay in the house of merchandise. We'll talk about that. But the house of prayer and the house of peace is the house of the Most High. And that door, you got to open up that door. Sometimes we'll get to the door and we won't knock. Sometimes we'll get to the door and we'll turn around and leave. Sometimes the door of Christ, we won't open it, and we won't open up our hearts and allow the Most High to come in and be the man of war that he is, and go to war with all of the unrighteousness and the infirmities that we have within ourselves, to purge our sins and to cleanse us, to allow us to live a life of peace. Let the Most High and the Son do his work.
That's right.
Enter into that house. Enter into those gates. And when you enter into those gates, enter in with praise. When you enter into those gates, You enter in with gladness.
That's right.
You enter into the Most High's house and you enter into their temple. Then you've came through by the door of Christ, which is the covenant and those walls that he'll build up around you. And it's that place to where in the midst of darkness, like the Lord put darkness over all of the land of Egypt, it's going to be that one place in his house to where it's always going to be light. We in the book of Psalms, chapter 84, in verse 1. Read this.
The book of Psalms, chapter 84. How amiable are thy tabernacles.
How beautiful. How of a strong monument, of a strong instrument, how amiable are thy tabernacles, or thy houses, or thy dwelling places, or thy kingdoms, or thy governments, or thy coverings. See, we talking about the house of prayer. See, this is where we dwell at. See, our spirits, we dwell in certain places, right? We have homes to where our spirits, to where we dwell in. And certain spirits navigate themselves unto righteousness, into doing the things that are well pleasing unto the Lord. They find in the tabernacles of the Lord, his coverings, his pavilions, his house. They find these things beautiful. Read.
O Lord of hosts.
The Lord of hosts. Read.
My soul longeth. My
soul longeth on this spiritual journey, continuing to find my ways back into the bosom of the Most High. Read.
Yea, even fainted for the courts of the Lord.
In the courts, in the inner workings of the places, the living rooms, the different bedrooms, the different places of relaxations, in the courts of the houses of the Lord, our soul longeth for, going back into their journey to return to our homes. Read.
My heart and my flesh crieth out for the living God.
Keep reading.
Yea, the sparrow had found in house.
The sparrow had found in house. Read.
And the swallow a nest for herself.
And the swallow findeth around a nest for herself in the Lord's house. Read.
Where she may lay her young.
And the swallow and the sparrow finds a beautiful and a comfortable place in the Lord's house, in the Lord's courts, to where that she may nurse her young. Read.
Even thine altars.
Even into the courts and the altars of the Most High's kingdom. Read.
O Lord of hosts, my King and my God.
This is a beautiful place to where you reside at, and where you trust in the Most High. You put your spirits there, and then you bring the nest even until you're young. You bring them to where they may be built up and nourished and fully in strength, even from their young, receiving the milk of the word, growing up to be able to eat the meat of the Lord. Read.
Blessed are they that dwell in thy house.
Read that again.
Blessed are they that dwell in thy house.
See, we're talking about the house of prayer. We're talking about the Most High. We're talking about the amicable tabernacles of the Lord, to where, your soul longeth for. Brothers and sisters, when you're in anguish, brothers and sisters, when you're in your down periods of your life, you're trying to find your way back. You're trying to find your way back to righteousness. Don't you long, man, for those courts? Don't you long, man, for the inside of the house of the Most High and the Son? Don't you yearn, man, for those spirits to be right in the courts, and find yourself the house of the Most High, to where you may be able to build a nest at, to where you may be able to build a foundation at,
bring it out,
to where you may be able to build a bed at,
teach,
to where you may be able to sleep at, with you and your young.
Bring it out.
See, we're talking about the house of the Most High. We're talking about the place of where spiritual beings go to reside, where the spiritual beings, where they live, where they put their trust in the Most High, where they put their coverings, and they rely on the house of the Lord and trust in the Lord, living in the house. No worries. To be able to build a spiritual foundation in the house, to find and build their nest with their young. Read verse 4 again.
Blessed are they that dwell in thy house.
Because the scriptures is telling us that blessed is the man, blessed is the woman that find themselves back into that house and entering into the door of Christ. Read.
They will be still praising thee.
And in the house of the Lord, to where the people are nourished, they are fed with the everlasting bread of the Most High. They are thoroughly quenched their thirst with the water of the Most High, they have covered themselves in the blood of Christ, they will still be praising the Lord in his house. Read.
Salah. Blessed is the man whose strength is in thee, and whose heart are the ways of them, whose passing through the valley of Baca make it a well. The rain also filleth the pool.
In the Lord's court filleth up the wells of Baca with the waters of the word, the waters of the righteousness of the word. The rain also cometh down from heaven to fill up the pools in the courts to the people to be baptized. Read.
They go from strength to strength.
Understanding and being built up in the spiritual word inside of the house of the Most High in his tabernacles and temples. Read.
Every one of them.
Every one of the sons of the strangers, every one of his children, every one of the eunuchs who filleth up themselves with the pools and baptized with the rain of God. Read.
In Zion appeareth before God.
This is Jerusalem of where the Most High, where he sits at and where he resides at. In the high places in the mountains of the Lord is called Zion. Read.
O Lord God of hosts, hear my prayer.
Understand and hear my prayer and hear my worship. Read.
Give ear, O God of Jacob.
Give ear, understand, hear me. Read.
Salah. Behold, O God, our shield.
God, our shield. Read.
And look upon the face of thine anointed.
Look upon the face of the anointed. Read.
For a day in thy courts.
For a day in thy courts, in the day in thy house, for a day in the house of prayer, for a day in the house of the Lord, for a day in the temple of the Most High, for a day in the covenant of the Most High, for a day in the tabernacle, in the pavilion, in the house of the Lord, for a day in the courts of the Lord. Read.
Is better than 1,000.
It's better than 1,000 days in the house of merchandise.
Bring it out.
Read that again, verse 10.
For a day in thy courts.
See, the scripture says, for the day in the house of the Most High, for the day in the courts of the Most High, for the day of the tabernacles of the Most High, to walk through the door. Read.
It's better than 1,000.
It's better than 1,000 days of the house of merchandise. Read.
I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God.
I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God. Read.
Than to dwell in the tents of wickedness.
See, this is what it's all about, brothers and sisters.
That's right.
See this in the scriptures, man.
Teach.
Show some love in the chat. Show some love. See, it's important that you examine where you living at. Look at your blinds. We talking about them blinds. Talking about them blinds. Hey, that's real though. That's real. Look at your furniture. Look at your ceiling. Take a look and examine your foundation. Look at your toilets. Look at your couches. Look at your beds. Look at your dishes. Look at your carpets. Look at your hardwood. Look at your sheetrock.
That's right.
Check out your plumbing. The scripture says, for I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of prayer. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of righteousness. I'd rather be B times to the Most High. I'd rather just be a small little servant. I'm talking like, I'd rather choose to be a peasant inside of the house of the Most High than to dwell in the tents of wickedness.
Bring it out.
You got to understand, you got to examine where you're living at, brothers and sisters.
That's right.
We are supposed to be living in the house of the Lord, not dwelling in the house in the tents of merchandise. Or the house in the tents of wickedness,
Praise God.
of unrighteousness, of ungodliness, of the things that are not pleasing unto the place of the world. Read verse 10 again.
For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000.
Just one day in the courts of the Most High is better than 1,000 days in the courts of the unrighteous. Read.
I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God.
Someone is just of a small servant, someone that's even of a peasant status, a small man. I'd rather choose that than to be a doorkeeper in the house of righteousness, in the house of prayer, in the house of my God. Read.
Than to dwell in the tents of wickedness.
We in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7 and verse 1. We in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7 and verse 1. Keep showing that love in the chat, family. Keep that chat on fire. See, we giving real righteousness right now, brothers and sisters. Where it is that you're dwelling, check your address. Examine yourselves. Check and see where you have been dwelling at. Where have you been dwelling at over the past 30 days? Were you dwelling in the house of unrighteousness? Were you dwelling in the house of wickedness through your actions and through your words? Were you dwelling in the house of merchandise? Were you in there buying and selling? Were you in there selling oxes and doves and with the changers of money? Were you living in the house of the Most High for the past 30 days? You see, our life is on a cyclical cycle, right? Sun goes up and the sun goes down. It's the same thing with us. Where is it exactly are you dwelling at? Are you dwelling in the house of the Most High? Are you dwelling in the house of prayer, in the house of righteousness? Or are you dwelling in the house of wickedness? Examine yourself. See, this is what this is all about. And again, this is not a Bible to turn it and use it against your brother. The Bible is to turn it and use it against yourself.
That's right. Teach.
Where are you living at? Where are you dwelling? Where's your residence at spiritually? Are you coming up into that door? Are you knocking on that door? Are you going to open up that door and let Christ enter into you as Christ is that door? See, the house of prayer is open unto all people. It's open unto all worshipers. The eunuchs. It's open unto the sons of the strangers. It's open unto the sons of the circumcision, the sons of the uncircumcision. And to find yourself be times, man, to get to that house. Where have you been dwelling at recently? Where have you been living at recently? Where has your address been recently? Where have you been at over the past year? Have you been be times and finding yourself just wanting to be a small doorkeeper in the house of the Lord? Or have you been dwelling in the house of wickedness, man, and dwelling in the house of unrighteousness?
Bring it out.
You see, brothers and sisters, we catch ourselves, man, on the pendulum swings of cycles of unrighteousness and righteousness that we have in our lives. Those instabilities that the Bible talks about, that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. The pendulum swings of righteousness and unrighteousness. The mood swings of being hot and being cold, being hot and being cold. Understand and examine where it is that you dwell in, brothers and sisters. See, the house of the Lord is a safe place for you to build a nest. And what building a nest is building a spiritual foundation. There's no predators in the house of the Most High. There you have guards, you have courts, and you have temples, you have pools, you have everything that it is to be able to sustain yourself without having that spiritual burn to return into Egypt. You have the time to get built up and to worship and praise and to have thanksgiving and to build up your spirit in the righteousness, the same spirit that rose up Christ. But when you living in the house, living in that ghetto, okay, and we're not talking about the place it is. We're talking about spiritual. You living in that bondage. You're living in that shack. Then the opposite things of what it is to come to be in the house of the Most High is going to be the opposite. Family, in the house of merchandise, there is no place for you to build your nest.
Bring it out.
Like it is in the house of the Most High.
That's right.
There is no rain. The rain doesn't come down in the courts of just how they do in the house of the Lord. There is no rain to come down in the courts in the house of merchandise.
Teach.
So you have to find other ways to be able to sustain yourself. What spirit have you been in lately? What spirit have you built? What house have you been building lately? What house have you been dwelling in lately? Where's your spirit at? We in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7 and verse 1. Read this.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 7. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord.
This is a prophecy that came down to his prophet. Read.
Saying.
And given it to him in word. Read.
Stand in the gate of the Lord's house.
Hold up. Read that again.
Stand in the gate of the Lord's house.
See, this is a spiritual concept, brothers and sisters, that's all throughout the scriptures. This house, this covering, this tabernacle, this covenant, this pavilion. And it's a place to where spiritual worshipers gather. And it's a place to where spiritual worshipers live. And in this place, and in the gates, and in the temples, and in the courts, and it's even called a city in the Bible. It's called Jerusalem. It's even called Zion.
That's right.
Mount Zion. It's given similitudes and parables to the same essential place to get us to dwell in. Stand in the gates, stand at the door, stand in the gates of the Lord's house. Read.
And proclaim there this word.
Proclaim there this word. Read.
And say.
And prophesy. Read.
Hear the word of the Lord.
Hear the word of our God. Read.
All ye of Judah.
Judah. Read.
That enter in at the gates to worship the Lord.
That enter into the gates to worship the Lord. This is everyone that has a aspiration, or that has a plan, or that at least has a zeal within them that aspires to enter into the door of the gates of the kingdom to worship the Lord. Read.
Thus said the Lord of hosts.
See, this is what the Lord proclaimed unto all spiritual worships who aspire to enter into the door. Read.
The God of Israel.
This is the God of Israel, the God of the Hebrews, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Read.
Amend your ways and your doings.
He's telling us to examine our ways, examine our doings, understand and examine ourselves to see and to change the way how we have spiritually been living our lives. Read.
And I will cause you to dwell in this place.
In order for you to enter into the Lord's gates, you have the zeal, you have the aspiration. Your soul is longing for the courts of the Lord. You want to be able to plant your nest for your young, for your spiritual foundation. If you want to enter into the gates to worship the Lord, you have to amend your ways and doings.
That's right.
Before you even enter into those gates, you have to examine yourself, brothers and sisters.
That's
You
right.
have to look at yourself and amend your ways, change your ways, spiritually have a change of heart, have a change of spirit in order to enter into the place. You can't enter in without amending your ways.
That's right.
See, when you're trying to move locations, you can't, the qualifications of the house of merchandise is not the same qualifications of the house of prayer.
Work it out.
See, it's general admission in the house of merchandise, and it's invite only in the house of prayer.
Work it out.
Understand that. He said, amend your ways and amend your doings. After you do that, then Christ will open the door and he will cause you to dwell in the house of the Lord. Read.
Trust ye not in lying words.
Trust ye not in lying words. Read.
Say.
Understanding and saying with your heart. Read.
The temple of the Lord.
The temple of the Lord, the house of the Lord, the covering of the Lord. Read.
The temple of the Lord.
The covering of the Lord, the sanctuary of the Lord, the courts of the Lord. Read.
The temple of the Lord.
The praise of the Lord, the house of the Lord, the pavilion of the Lord. Read.
Are
The
these.
temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the house of the Lord, the courts of the Lord, or these. Trust ye not lying words. Read.
For if ye truly amend your ways.
For if you thoroughly change your spirit, if you thoroughly examine yourselves from the things that we were doing that were unrighteous in a period of time to where we were in Egypt and we were in darkness, walking in spiritual blindness, if we have a revelation and we have a change of heart and we have a spiritual rebirth to fully amend our ways and fully amend our doings. Read.
And your doings. If ye truly execute judgment.
And if you thoroughly execute judgment, read.
Between a man and his neighbor. If ye oppress not the stranger.
If you oppress not the stranger without his God, read.
The father.
Or the fatherless, the ones would have no covering, read.
And the widow.
Or the widow, read.
And shed not innocent blood.
If the hands don't shed innocent blood, read.
In this place.
In the courts of the Most High or the temples of the gates of the Lord, read.
Neither walk after other gods to your hurt.
Even choosing to have these things and worship and walk after the gods of the other nations, read.
Then will I cause you to dwell in this place.
See, the Lord says that if you don't oppress your stranger, if you don't oppress the fatherless, the ones who have not a covering, the widows, if your hands are not shedding innocent blood, if your feet is not swift to be running to mischief into this place, nor that you do and go and sacrifice and offer other gods and go into buy and sell and to bow down unto it, then the Lord will open the door to his place. Read.
in the land that I gave to your fathers.
In the utmost land into the east, in Zion, in Jerusalem, read.
Forever.
How long? Forever, read.
And ever.
See, this is the house of the Most High.
That's right.
This is the temple of the Lord.
Teach.
You see that, brothers and sisters? Do you see the things that we have to do, man, in order to enter into his place? Some of us, you put your fringes on and you just walk through the door, right? As we all have been trained to do. See, sister, you put on your dress and then now you think you're going to enter into the door. Brother, you got a beard. You think it... Nah, see, the Lord said, man, see, starting over at verse 1, this is the word of the Lord that came unto Jeremiah. He said, stand before that gate. See, Jeremiah wasn't the gate. See, Jeremiah is not the door. See, this is the prophet that is coming to make way for the ways of Christ. It's like how John the Baptist did. He came before to make way unto the way of Christ. See, the prophet was told to stand before the gate. Stand in the gate. Right before the door of the Most High, and prophesied unto these people and tell them that you must thoroughly, if you amend your ways and you do, for if you thoroughly amend your ways and you doings, and if you thoroughly execute judgment within your life between a man and a neighbor, and if you do not oppress the stranger, you cover the fatherless and the widow, your feet is not running in mischief, your hands are not shedding innocent blood, neither that you're kindling up fires and giving sacrifices and serving other gods, then the Lord will cause you to dwell in his house of prayer, to dwell in his house of peace, to dwell in his house of righteousness, and into that land, into Jerusalem, that you must travel east and to get through forever and forever. Read.
That's right. Behold, ye trust in lying words.
But then the other side of that house of the Most High is that house of merchandise, man.
Bring it out.
That house of merchandise. That is so tempting. Big house, 4-car garage, Rolls Royce in the front. See, that's that house that Lot chose. Remember we were talking about Abram and Lot, and the herdsmen of Abram's flock had contentions with the herdsmen of Lot's flock, and how Lot looked upon Egypt and looked upon the plains and how it was beautiful to his sight. Beautiful to behold. Even so much that the flesh convinced Lot that this was going to be his dwelling. This is where Lot was going to live. But on the other side of that, it says that ye will trust in lying words. Read.
That cannot profit.
That is the opposite of the house of the Lord, the opposite of thoroughly amending your ways. And again, see, this Bible is for us, man. This Bible is a self-examination. We use these things on ourselves. We trust in lying words and these things that cannot profit outside of the house, outside of the gates of the Most High. Read.
Will ye steal?
Will ye steal? Read.
Murder.
Read.
Commit
Adultery. Read.
Swear
False swearing. Read.
Burn incense unto Baal.
Kindling fires. Read.
Walk after other gods, whom ye know not.
Bowing down unto idols. Read.
And come and stand before me in this house.
Will you do all of these things? Will you commit murder? Will you commit adultery? Will you swear falsely? Will you burn incense and kindle fires unto other gods that you know not? Will your hands shed innocent blood? Will you sow discourse among the brethren? Will you murder and will you kill and try to enter into the Lord gate and try to come to the Lord house? And that's a contradiction that, you know, us Hebrews, we find ourselves in a lot. We, participate in these things openly, like in front of everybody, in front of the whole world. And then we will go and present ourselves at the gate of the Most High saying that you're ready to come home now. Understand and think about what the scriptures is telling us. Will ye do these things? Will you steal, murder, commit adultery, swear falsely, burn incense unto Baal, walk after other gods, and come and stand before me in this house? Read.
Which is called by my name.
And this house is a house of prayer, which is called by my name and my essence and my likeness. Read.
And say.
And try to proclaim and walk through that door and walk through those gates. Read.
We are delivered to do all these abominations.
We have been delivered to enter into the Lord's house to still proclaim and buy and sell inside of the house of merchandise. Read.
Is this house?
Is this the house of the Lord? Read.
Which is called by
It is called by the name of the Most High to the ones that gives of his essence. Read.
Become a den of robbers.
Has the house of the Most High turned into a house of lies, or a house or a den of robbers? Has the house of the Most High to where it protect you? See, he gives you that spiritual foundation for you and your young. See, your soul is start to cry out for the courts of the Most High. You change in your ways and you amend your doings. It gives you a place for your young to be able to sit down, and you be able to raise up your young for a place for you to where it's, no predators, to where you are able to serve the Most High, build up a true spiritual foundation in the Lord? Or will you choose otherwise with the house of merchandise, the things that come unto that? You have stealing, murder, adultery, bearing false witness, bearing other gods, burning incense unto Baal. Will you come unto the house and say that I am now ready to live in the Lord's house and still practicing these abominations?
Bring it out.
And that's something that we all have to self-examine, man, because we done all done it.
Teach.
Everybody in the world say that they love the Most High. Everybody in the world claims that they live with Christ. But are we really walking up to the Lord of the Most High, still practicing these abominations? Read verse 11 again.
Is this house
the house of the Lord? Read.
which is called by my name,
Which is given unto the essence and shown in the essence of the Lord. Read.
become a den of robbers in your eyes?
Has it become a house of merchandise in your eyes? Read.
Behold, even I have seen it, said the Lord.
Keep reading.
But go ye now unto my place.
Go unto the Most High's place. Go into his tabernacle. Go into his covering and his covenant, this holy place unto the east, in Zion, in Jerusalem. Go ye now into that place. Read.
Which was in Shiloh.
Which was in Zion. Read.
Where I set my name at the first.
Where the Lord set and proclaimed to where his righteousness was to be at the first. Read.
And see what I did to it for the wickedness of my people.
See how the Lord changed the location of his righteousness for the wickedness of the people at the time. Read.
And now, because ye have done all these works, saith the Lord, and I speak unto you, rising up early and speaking, but ye heard not, and I called you, but ye answered not.
Jump down to verse 17.
Verse 17.
Read.
Seest thou not what they do in the cities of Judah,
Understand the children that live in the cities of Judah, in the cities. Read.
and in the streets of
The
Jerusalem?
cry of the people that live in the streets of Jerusalem. Read.
The children gather wood, and fathers kindle the
The
fire.
children, they sacrifice themselves unto Baal. Their feet are swift to run to mischief. The children gather wood in the fires, preparing to kindle the fire. Read.
And the women knead the dough.
And for the cakes of heaven and for their sacrifices, the women, they come and get their dough full and heavenly laden with leaven. Read.
To make cakes to the queen of heaven.
To prepare and to make their cakes to the queen of heaven, heavenly filled with leaven. Read.
And to pour out drink offerings unto other
The
gods.
drink offerings unto other gods that they turn. Read.
That they may provoke me to anger.
That they may change the Most High's house into a house of prayer, into a house of merchandise. Read.
Do they provoke me to anger?
Do they provoke the Most High into his house, his holy tabernacle, and his covering that he have to bring in their abominations? Read.
Saith the Lord.
Said the power. Read.
Do they not provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces?
Keep reading.
Thus saith the Lord God.
Understand that the Lord is understanding that he is always about his house and his tabernacle and his place and his dwelling. Read.
Behold, mine anger and my fury shall be poured out upon this place.
Just like Sodom and Gomorrah, the Lord changed his location of righteousness, and the fury is poured out upon this place of unrighteousness. Read.
Upon man.
And upon man. Read.
And upon beast.
And upon the beast. Read.
And upon the trees of the
And
field.
the tall trees of the field, the Lord's fury. Read.
And upon the fruit of the ground.
And the young of the ground. Read.
And it shall burn.
And it shall burn. Read.
And shall not be quenched.
We in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 12. See, we're talking about the house of prayer, and we're talking about the house of merchandises. And the Most High does not dwell in temples made with hands. Where are you dwelling at right now? Like spiritually. Examine yourself, man. Are you dwelling in the house of merchandise? Have you been committing murder, committing adultery, swearing falsely, kindling fires, making cakes for the queens of heaven full of leaven? Have you been pouring out drink offerings unto other gods? Have you been gathering wood and the best cedars of the fires to kindle up gods and trying to present yourself in the house of the Most High? Where have you been dwelling at? Where's your spirit been at lately? Where is the Most High? Where does the Lord have you right now? You see, we go through seasons again, like the sun goes up and the sun goes down. We aspire to fully enter into the courts of the Most High and never leave again. But sometimes, brothers and sisters, we fall and we go off and we trade in that house of the Most High and we'll go find that house of merchandise. But sometimes, brothers and sisters, you got to get your rocks off. And what I mean by getting your rocks off is that burn of Egypt, of that unrighteousness. We have to dwell in the house of merchandise at least for like 5 days, and then we want to go back to the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Where are you dwelling at? Where's your spirit at right now? Examine yourself. See, the Lord, you got to thoroughly amend your ways. You want to enter into the Lord's house? You want to enter into the gates? Your soul has been longing in to go in into the courts, man. You're done with the house of merchandise. You want to go in. You got to amend your ways. And you know exactly what ways that you have to amend. Stop waiting on somebody else to try to tell you, man. Like I tell all my brothers and sisters in one body in your house shot. Stop acting like you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Stop acting like you don't know. You got to fight. Right. You got to have a want to. You got to have a urge and a yearn to get close to the Most High. That door, you got to be able to want to get into that gate. Tired of living in that ghetto, or tired of living in that, tired of being a vagabond, not having a place to stay. A man picking up from house to house. You going from place to place. See, that's talking about spiritually. It's having instability within your spirit to be able to fully dwell in the house of the Most High. You're a journeyman. You're a backpack man. You go from house to house. See, it's time for us to now have spiritual stability to where we can get our nest and raise up our young. Oh my God. See, this is the word of the Most High. This is the thing right here, the word that, this builds up spirits. This really, gets the carnal thinking out of the people's minds, and the courts and families, the house guy. These are all allegories and parables that are spiritually relating to you. That's and right. Showing you who you are and showing your illumination path that you must go to. We in the book of First Corinthians. Chapter 3 and verse 11. Read this.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11.
Read.
For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid.
Because that foundation of that house, that foundation of that temple, right? The foundation of the house of the Most High, where we all are aspiring to live in. The same temple and the same gates that the prophet Jeremiah was commanded to stand in front of that gate to get the people ready to amend their ways, to fully come into this house and into the courts and into these gates so they can be furnished and have a covering over them. That foundation of that temple, that foundation of that kingdom, that foundation of that city, that foundation of Jerusalem, no man can lay another foundation other than Christ. Read.
Which is Christ.
Which is Christ. Read.
Now if any man build upon this foundation, gold,
read.
Silver,
read.
Precious
stones, read.
Wood, hay,
and stubble, read.
Every man's work shall be made manifest.
When you come into the city in Jerusalem of the foundation of Christ, it will thoroughly be purged of the works thereof. Read.
For the day shall declare it.
And the day is going to declare the manifestation of the purging of the works of the man that thoroughly amends his ways. Read.
Because it shall be revealed by fire.
Because the fire of Christ makes a man turn from his unrighteous ways to a righteous way. Read.
And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is.
The foundation of the kingdom, the foundation of the house, and the doors in Christ, which shall reveal every work that it is. When you open up that door, the Lord will come into you and he will sup with you and he will thoroughly purge out all infirmities. Read.
If any man's work abide, which he had built thereupon, he shall receive a reward.
If a man's work shall be able to sustain the fire of Christ, and shall be pure enough if a man's work to be tried as gold, then he shall receive a reward for his work. Read.
If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved.
And if a man come into the door of Christ and fully amend his ways, and the works of a man's hands is fully burned by the clearing and the cleansing of Christ, he shall suffer a loss of the vanity of how he lived his life before he came Christ. But after Christ thoroughly purged out his works and thoroughly purged out his life by his fire, that man shall be saved. Read.
Yet so as by fire.
And that man shall be thoroughly cleansed by fire. Read.
Know ye not that ye are the temple of God?
And understanding that the house of the Most High, where we are reading about and teaching about today, that house and that covering and that temple and those courts and that city in Jerusalem and Zion, understand that how that is a spiritual representation of you. Read.
And the Spirit of God dwelleth in you.
And inside of that temple of the Spirit of God is the resting place of the Lord. Read.
If any man defile the temple of God,
that house or that foundation or that door or that temple of those courts, if any man bring in other idols and kindle up fires and give sacrifices and burnt offerings unto his God, read.
him shall God destroy.
And that temple shall God remove himself from. Read.
For the temple of God is holy.
Because the house of the Most High and the house of prayer is a place of worship. It's a place of divine righteousness. It's a place of holiness. It's a place of peace. It's a place of love. It's a place of joy.
That's
and
right.
a place of the Most High, for the temple of the Lord is holy. Read.
Which temple ye are.
And the temple of the Lord is a reflection of who we are, as we are the house of God. Read.
Let no man deceive himself.
Understand and get spiritual wisdom, as wisdom is the principal thing. Read.
If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. And again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain.
We in the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 29 and verse 18. Show some love in the chat, brothers and sisters. See, where are you dwelling at right now? And when you understand that, you finally take the time to examine yourself and understand where you dwell at. Is it time to change locations? And we're going to be talking about that here, right? We're talking about, what is your status? What is your residency status? I'm asking these questions. The Lord is asking these questions as well. He's given us these parables and similitudes to understand that we are the temple of the Lord. And if any man comes with his sacrifices and offering to try to defile that temple, the Lord said that he will destroy that temple. He will destroy that place, as the Lord did with every place that the Lord chose to put his name at. When the Lord chose to put his name at different places, the wickedness of the people arose. The Lord had to change locations because this house had got defiled. The Lord had to build a new house. That's the same thing that it is with us. If your house is defiled, you need to build a new one. And you start from the foundation when you build your spiritual house. And no man can lay a foundation other than Christ. And when you build up that house, man, that door, when you enter into the door of that kingdom, that door is Christ.
That's right.
Where are you living at currently? What are you in the house of merchandise, or are you in the house of prayer? Are you in the house of wickedness right now, or are you in the house of righteousness? And how do you know that, bro? Just go back and just examine yourself over the past 30 days. Go back and examine yourself over the past 60 days. Go back and examine yourself over the past year. As a matter of fact, look at yourself from Passover to Passover. Look at your actions. Look at your deeds. Look at your thoughts. Look at your pattern of works. Look at the results and the works of your hands. Have you prayed? What about class? Did you read your Bible? Where is it exactly that you dwell in? Are you living in the house of the Lord, or are you living in the house of merchandise? See, these are places to where spirits dwell. Either you can be in the house of the Lord, or you can be in the house of merchandise, or you can be a vagabond, nowhere to live. Your spirit is everywhere. An unstable man, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, right? You have no place of dwelling. You're picking up and you're living from house to house. You got to get yourself spiritually grounded and have that spiritual foundation to be able to place yourself to where you can get a nest. to where you can relax, to where you can take your time, to where you can examine each impurity for the perfectness and the righteousness of Christ, which all of us are aspired to being in. Understand and looking and seeing where you living at. Are you living in the house of the prayer? Are you living in the house of the Most High? Or are you living in the house of merchandise? Where you living at right
Bring
now?
it up!
Where you living at?
Bring it up!
You see, sometimes we are practicing the works of the house of merchandise and trying to convince ourselves we in the house of the Lord.
Teach.
No, sir. I love God. I follow God. I follow Jesus. I worship the Lord. But, when you examine yourself, when you look at, hey, man, the things that I have been doing, the things that I put on display, the things that I've done, hey, man, those are not things that you do in the house of the Lord. See, the house of the Lord, you come and you get settled down and you bathe yourselves in the waters of the pool from the rain that falleth down from heaven. You feed your bowels with the Passover lamb and the unleavened bread, the purity of the word, to where never, man, you'll never be able to thirst again. You'll never hunger again. You'll be sustained. Your spirit, your soul, your nervous system will be sustained with the righteousness of the Most High to dwell in the tabernacles, in the tents of Zion and in Jerusalem, of where we all should be.
That's right.
But that house of merchandise, it calls our name. It looks good, plentiful to the eye. It's a place to where everybody talks about. It's a place to where everybody gather at now. When the party going on in the house of merchandise, it's jumping, right? Boom, 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 boom room. You know what I'm saying? House of merchandise, everybody come flocking.
That's right.
Where are you dwelling at? We in the book of Ecclesiasticus 29. We're talking about the house of peace and the house of prayer. And when you dwelling in the house of prayer, it's going to show in your life. It's not the things that was go in, it's the things that's come out. And everything that comes out is going to be a manifestation or the image of your heart. If you dwelling in the house of peace, it's going to show. You're going to live a life of peace. You dwelling in the house of righteousness, you dwelling in the house of prayer, you're going to walk with a lot of elegance. Your tongue is going to be soft. Your tongue is going to speak righteousness. Your feet is going to be, shod about with the gospel. Your loins is going to be girded about. You're going to have the sword of the Spirit in your hand. You're going to have the helmet of salvation. It's going to show. If you're dwelling in the house of merchandise, it's going to show. You're going to be sowing discourse. You're going to be shedding innocent blood. You're going to be committing murder and stealing and adultery, kindling fires, burning incense unto other gods, not practicing the righteous rehearsals of the Lord, convincing yourself that you have made yourself worthy of the Lord and you have found the Lord. In order to enter into the tabernacles or the gates of the Most High, you have to thoroughly examine yourself. You have to thoroughly amend your ways. You have to thoroughly amend all of the impurities of the Most High in order to open up the door of the Lord. Where you living at? Where you staying at? Where you posted up? This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 29, in verse 18. Read this.
Ecclesiastes, chapter 29 and verse 18.
Read.
Suretyship had undone many of good estate.
You're thinking about the ones of a good estate. A suretyship is having someone be a creditor for your salvation, someone that is over you, that has control of your salvation. Suretyship had undone many of a good that was in a righteous estate. Read.
And shaken them as a wave of the sea.
The suretyship of having an unrighteous creditor above your head on your path to righteousness has shaken many good spirits like a wave in the sea. Read.
Mighty men have it driven from their houses.
Hold up, read that again.
Mighty men have it driven from their houses.
You have suretyship of an unrighteous covering, an unrighteous creditor for your way of path to righteousness. Many that were in a good estate, a good place, a good dwelling, shaking them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men have it driven from the house of God, have them been expelled from the house of God. Read.
So that they wandered among strange nations.
See, sometimes, brothers and sisters, you can be in the house of the Most High. You get expelled out of the house of the Most High. Now you're a vagabond.
Bring it out!
Wandering from place to place. Wandering from city to city. Wandering amongst nation. I don't think they heard that, but let's read that again. That's powerful. Read verse 18 again.
Suretyship hath undone many of good estate.
So that's having an unrighteous covering, a suretyship, which is like a creditor, a cosign, someone that has authority over your life, which could be sin, which could be unrighteousness, which could be a man, which could be beast. It's a suretyship. Had undone, had uncovered, had kicked out, had evicted many of us who were once in a good estate, and has shaken them as the wave of the sea. Mighty men of spiritual authority have it driven out from their houses, from their dwelling places, from their safe places of the Most High, so that when they were evicted out of their houses, they wandered among strange nations. Read!
And shaking them as a wave of the sea.
And shaking them up as the wave of the sea. Read!
Mighty men have it driven from their houses.
Mighty men have they been expelled and evicted from the spiritual houses. Read!
So that they wandered among strange nations.
Walking as blind in the noonday, groping, wandering without an house, a vagabond, from nation to nation. Read!
A wicked man, transgressing the commandments of the Lord, shall fall into suretyship.
By not having the covering of the Lord, practicing the unrighteous acts of the Lord, falls a man into a spiritual suretyship under a schoolmaster. Read!
And he that undertaketh and followeth other men's business for gain shall fall into suits.
Keep reading.
Help thy neighbor.
Help thy neighbor. Read.
According to thy power.
According to the righteousness that you have. Read.
And beware that thou thyself fall not into the same.
Have thorough self-examination and amend your ways, that you don't fall into the same spiritual situation, wandering amongst nation, not having a spiritual house to cover yourself. Examine yourself, lest I fall in the same predicament. Read.
The chief thing for life is water.
It's the water that comes down from the Most High. Read.
And bread.
It's the unleavened bread that you fill your bowels with. Read.
And clothes.
And the covering of the Most High that you cover yourself with. Read.
And a house.
In a spiritual house, in a spiritual covering, in a spiritual kingdom, in a gate. Read.
To cover shame.
Hold up. See, man, you think about that verse 21. You thinking about drinking water and eating some food.
Bring it out. That's right. Yes, sir.
You see, the Bible is an allegory. The Bible talks to us in spiritual ways. The Bible shows us the ways to work on our path of illumination, to be initiated into the everlasting light, the covenant of light. We're going to read verse 21 again. Read again.
The chief thing for life is water.
It's the rain that cometh down from the Most High that filleth up the pools to where you can go in and bathe in. It's the rivers of the water that you can go down and drink in. All the fowls of the air and the beasts of the field and all of the people can rely on the life sustainability of God's water to be able to sustain themselves. Read.
And bread.
The unleavened bread that every man must feed his bowels with, so he won't be able to suffice himself with any other feeding. Read.
Clothing.
And the righteous covering, the garment without spot and without blemish, the white robe that we are supposed to wear, the covering of the Lord, the chief thing of life. Read.
In a house.
In a spiritual house, in a covering of the Most High, the house of prayer, in the house of worship. Read.
To cover shame.
To cover all of your impurities, to cover all of your sin, to cover all of your unrighteousness. Every time that you fall short of the glory of the Lord, you have a house of God to cover your shame.
Bring it out.
But when that suretyship comes over our life, brothers and sisters, sometimes we'll get evicted out of the Most High, and now we become a vagabond, wandering amongst nation, amongst house, not having that spiritual foundation and that spiritual stability, with just relying on the chief things in life, the water of the Most High, the unleavened bread, the spiritual clothing, and the house to cover your shame. Read.
Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage.
Better is it of a life of a poor man dwelling under the righteousness of the Lord. Read.
Than delicate fare.
Than delicate fares in a life of abundancy, in a life of delicate meats, in a life of fleshly deeds. Read.
In another man's house.
Into the house of merchandise or the house of unrighteousness. Better it is to dwell or to be just a postman or to be just a doorman in the cottage of the Most High than a delicate fare, than to enjoy yourself with the dainty meats, to live a life of pleasures in a life of unrighteousness, to dwell in another man's house. Read.
Be it little or much.
Be it little or be it much. Read.
Hold thee contented.
Hold thee contented with your spirit to dwell and keep yourself in the house of the Most High. Read.
Let thou hear not the reproach of thy house.
Let thou hear not the reproach of the house of merchandise. Read.
For it is a miserable life to go from house to house.
The scripture tells us that it is a miserable life, a life of hardship, without having a spiritual covering or a spiritual foundation to live from house to house, to go amongst nation, without having a spiritual house to dwell in, to build your nest, to build your foundation, to build yourself up in the spirit. Read verse 24 again.
For it is a miserable life.
The scripture tells us that it is a horrible life, a life that is not even worth living. It is a life that comes with misery and pain. It is a life that comes with unrighteousness. Read.
To go from house to house.
To not have a spiritual foundation, to wander in like you blind in the noonday, from going from nation to nation, to be a vagabond, to wander from house to house. Read.
For where thou art a stranger.
To continue to wander in house to house, a miserable life. A double-minded man is unstable, not having any spiritual stability, where there are a stranger. Read.
Thou darest not open thy mouth.
Keep reading.
Thou shalt entertain.
Thou shalt entertain. Read.
And feast.
And feast. Read.
And have no thanks.
And have no thanks. Read.
Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words.
Living from house to house is a miserable life. Read.
Come, thou stranger.
Thou stranger that is outside of the house of the Most High. Read.
And furnish a table.
And prepare yourself in your life to enter into the Lord's house. Read.
And feed me of that thou hast read.
Keep reading.
Give place.
Give place into your heart and open up for the house of the Most High, to where that you may have a spiritual foundation to plant your nest. Read.
Thou stranger.
Thou stranger that is separated from the Lord. Read.
To an honorable man.
To an honorable man. Read.
My brother cometh to be lodged.
And this is the place to where you must open up to come and to be lodged. Set yourself in the gates of the Most High, in the courts of the Most High, to bathe yourself and to drink the water, to eat the unleavened bread, to clothe yourself with the righteous garment, in a house of protection to be able to cover your shame. Read.
I have need of mine house.
Hold up, read that again.
And I have need of mine house.
Your soul is longing for the house of the Most High to be able to dwell in. It's a miserable life, man. It's a bad life to be hopping from house to house, to go from nation amongst nation, to be out to be a vagabond, not to have a spiritual covering and a place for you to reside. Read.
These things are grievous to a man of understanding. The upbraiding of house rooms.
The upbraiding of house rooms. Read.
And reproaching of the lender.
Show some love in the chat, brothers and sisters. We in the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 21 and verse 18. We getting down to the thing, brothers and sisters. Where are you living at? Examine yourself. Are you a vagabond right now? Are you moving from house to house? Not having a spiritual foundation, man, that yearns on a soul to not have a place to where that you can reside in and understand being in the bosom of the Most High, so you can calm down your spirit, sister. You can calm down your spirit, brother. Let the Most High fight all of these battles that you're trying to fight by yourself. All you need is the essential things in your life, and that is the water of the Most High. That is the bread of the Most High.
That's right.
Is the covering of the Most High.
That's
and
right.
the house for you to be able to build yourself up spiritually.
Teach.
Get in the house and sit down.
That's right.
Get your tail down and sit down somewhere. Right? You know what I mean? That's what the Lord's telling us to do. Hey, just get in there and sit down. Water is there, sustained for you. You don't have to go outside the house. The water is there. Cut the water on, it's on. Plenty of water to bathe yourself, plenty of water to drink, plenty of water first. It's plenty of food to be able to eat. It's plenty of bread to be able to sustain yourself. You don't have to leave outside of the house. You have plenty of clothing to be able to clothe yourself. You don't have to leave outside the house to cover yourself. And what this house gonna do, man, it's gonna cover all of your shame. Get in there and sit down.
That's right. That's right.
Because, man, it's miserable for a man to live from house to house, not having a spiritual foundation, not having any spiritual stability. It's a horrible thing for a man to live house to house, from a man to get evicted out of a good spiritual house. Verse 18 says, suretyship hath undone many that was living in a good estate, and has shaken them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men have it driven from their houses, so that they wandered from nation amongst nation. They were being a vagabond. It's a miserable life. Verse 24 says, a miserable life to go from house to house, whether there be or a stranger, whether they open up thy mouth. And when you understand those things, that, examine yourself right now. Where you living at? You been a vagabond? Are you moving from house to house? Are you having spiritual, instability? Examine your mood, man. Examine your actions. Examine the way that you've treated your brother. Examine the way that you've treated your wife. Examine your discipline. Examine your spiritual path. Examine yourself.
That's right.
Right?
Teach.
We're so used to, looking out that window so much, man, but you got to look in that mirror. All of these scriptures here is pointing at the mirror. The Lord is telling us to amend your doings and amend your ways. The Lord is talking to us in the spirit, man. We have to start viewing the Bible as such. Again, we go in the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 21, and verse 18. We're talking about the house of the Most High, the house of prayer, versus the house of merchandise. See, the Most High, that temple, it wasn't made with hands. That temple was made with the Spirit. See, the house of merchandise, it was made with hands. And that house going to get burned down. And that house, it has evicted many people spiritually up out of that house and caused them to be vagabonds. You see, when you read in the scriptures, man, Cain and Abel, Jacob and Esau, they were vagabonds. They didn't have a spiritual foundation. They were wandering from house to house, from plane to plane, from city to city, from field to field, from pasture to pasture. But the scripture said Jacob was a plain man, and Jacob dwelt in his tent. Show some love in the chat. We getting fed today. We in the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 21 and verse 18. Read this.
Ecclesiastes, chapter 21 and verse 18.
Read.
As is a house that is destroyed,
it's the same as a temple, a house being destroyed. Read.
so is wisdom to a fool.
So is wisdom to a fool. Read.
And the knowledge of the unwise is as talk without sense.
Read verse 22.
Verse 22.
Read.
A foolish man's foot is soon in his neighbor's house.
A foolish man's foot is soon to leave the house of the Lord and to enter into the house of merchandise. Read.
But a man of experience.
But a man of experience, read,
is ashamed of him.
He gonna stay at home. See, even like within our own spirits, within our own lives, this is a testament of that. Some of us, we need to learn how to stay at home. When you in the streets and you hopping from house to house, the scripture says that a foolish man's foot is soon in his neighbor's house. That means you got to be outside. Even in the life that we live, even in this system of Babylon, it's way better to be inside the house. You'll be protected way more. You won't be open yourself up to danger. You save a lot of income. You'll be at home with your family and stuff. And, you can go outside and do some fun things and stuff like that. But we're just talking spiritually. I'm just trying to give you a spiritual analogy. Is that now that, when you are in other man's house, you got to leave that house, man. And when you leave the house, you leave your protection. You leave your guidance. You leave the walls and the homes of the Most High that has these things to be protected from you. Read verse 22 again.
A foolish man's foot.
A foolish man's foot. Read.
Is soon in his neighbor's house.
It's in his neighbor's house. Read.
But a man of experience.
But a man of experience. Read.
Is ashamed of him.
Will understand to keep himself at home. Read.
A fool will peek in at the door.
A fool will peek in at the door, read,
into the house.
into the house. He will peek in, read.
But he that is well nurtured,
But he that is well nurtured, read,
will stand without.
will enter into that house. And the thing about it is, in that door, Christ is that door. See, a fool, he'll come to the door, and he'll come to Christ, and he'll even peek in the door. But that man of understanding, he's going to open that door. We're going to the book of Revelations, chapter 3 and verse 20 again, to really get that established when we're talking about the house of peace. See, know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High, and no man can build another foundation of that temple except it is Christ. And that door that we must enter into and come into right before the foot of the gates, that door is Christ, and Christ is that door. And when you knock at that door, Christ is going to open that door. And when Christ opens that door, you got to let him come in.
That's right.
We in the book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 20. Read this.
Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 20.
Read.
Behold, I stand at the door.
See, the Most High told us that he stand at the door. This is Christ. Read.
And knock.
And coming in and knocking at that door. Read.
If any man hear my voice.
As the sheep hears the shepherd's voice. Read.
And open the door.
Open the doors of his heart, of his mind, of his soul, of his spirit. Read.
I will come into him.
I will come in and I will sup, and I will thoroughly purge out all infirmities through fire. All of the work of his hands that he's built up. Any type of kindling of fires, the Lord will put him down. Any walls that he has put up in his heart and soul and mind, the Lord will cast down. Any type of burdens that he may be carrying of bondage and chains and darkness and of the night, the Lord will transform and free and make it day. Read.
And will sup with him.
And will build him up in his spirit and have him to be able to give the power over sin and death. Read.
And he with me.
And he in me to be able to transpire and to commune with one another in spirit amongst spirit. Read.
To him that overcomes.
And give him the power to be able to overcome sin. Read.
Will I grant to sit with me in the throne.
Giving access into the innermost parts of the house of the throne of God of the right hand. Read.
Even as I also overcame.
Even as Christ descended down from the spirit to overcome sin in the flesh. Read.
And sat down with my Father in his throne.
And entered into the house of the Lord again, into the utmost precious parts of the home on the right hand side of the throne. Read.
He that hath an ear.
The brothers and sisters with spiritual ears, read.
Let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the church.
We in the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 4 and verse 30. Living in the house of the Most High, being in the house of the Lord, the house of prayer and the house of worship, not that house of merchandise. Don't be a vagabond, brothers and sisters, without a place to stay, sleeping in your car, going from house to house.
Bring it out.
Find you some spiritual stability somewhere and get your tail somewhere and go sit down and love the Most High.
That's right.
All your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as you love yourself.
That's right.
Fear God, honor the brotherhood, and love the king. You see, the Bible again is written in duality form. The Bible is written to us in yea and nay. On a physical standpoint and on a spiritual standpoint, it's either yea or nay. It's light and dark. It's black and white. It's up and down. It's righteousness and sin. It's either those two. Every single concept that the Lord gives within us, whether if it's in character form, whether if it's in narration form, whether if it's in parable form, whether if it's in wisdom form, whether if it's in wise saying form, whether if it's in book form, it's always given to us in yea or nay. Right now, this yea and nay we talking about the house of merchandise, or we talking about the house of peace, or we talking about the house of the Lord, or we talking about the house of sin, or we talking about the temple in the courts of the Most High and His Son, or the temple in the courts of a stranger. In order for you to get into the temple of the Most High, you got to thoroughly purge out all of those infirmities. You got to be Christ. You have to be a living embodiment of the Most High. You can't let anything or anyone or any situation take you up off of your path. You have to be up on your square at all times. You have to be right in the innermost court of the Most High at all times. Because if you leave that house, it's where Satan is, creeping and wandering and looking for souls to whom that he may devour. Any ones that is outside of the covering of the Most High. We in the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 4 and verse 30. Read this.
The book Ecclesiastes, chapter 4 and verse 30.
Read.
Be not as a lion in thy house.
Have some spiritual stability about yourself too, and not being able to be frantic among your house. You know what I mean? You're in your house in your spirit. Be able to be of one spirit, not of an interchangeable spirit, not of a spirit that is uncontrollable, not having a spirit that changes like the waves of the sea, and not having that stability. Have that foundation that's being built up in that house as Christ, and you won't be a frantic amongst your house. You won't have that spiritual. We won't have to be able to not have control over your spirit. You will be able to control your spirit. Read that again.
Be not as a lion in thine house.
And being as a lion in your house without having that spiritual stability to stay up on your path. Read.
Nor frantic among thy servants.
We in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 8. We in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 8. Dwelling with the Most High, being with the Most High, loving the Most High, supping with the Most High, being in that house under that protection is where we want to be, is where we're supposed to be. Being with the Most High, being under that protection to where we can come into the innermost courts and we can bathe in the pools of the water, to where we can cleanse our system and drink that water, so where we can fulfill ourselves with the bread of the Most High, to where we can clothe ourselves in spiritual righteousness. In that house will be able to cover all of our shame and all of our sins.
That's right.
Get yourself in the house. Show yourself worthy to get in that house. If you're in that house of merchandise, you need to get up out of it. Exit yourself out of the house of merchandise. Get into the house of the bosom of the Most High. Thoroughly evict yourself out of the house of merchandise, out of the house of unrighteousness. Scripture says that one day in the house of my God is better than 1,000 days in the house of wickedness. Go into the house of the Most High. Get in there and pray and supplicate and enjoy the covering. Build up your spirit. Build up yourself in righteousness. Put your nest there. Never leave. Stay within the courts. Fill yourself up with water. Continue to eat the bread. Continue to purge out your system. And continue to get closer to the Most High. Because the temples that's made with hands, the temples that's made with merchandise, the Most High don't dwell in those temples.
That's
See, the Most High dwell with the temples that's made in righteousness. That's where the Most High dwell. We in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 8. Read this.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 8.
Read.
But that which is made with hands,
The temple of God that is made with hands. Read.
is cursed.
It's cursed. Read.
As well it as he that made it.
As well as he that made the house of merchandise. Read.
He, because he made it.
He, because he made it, is cursed. Read.
And it,
And the house. Read.
because being corrupt,
Because it is corruptible. Read.
it was called God.
It was turned into a house of merchandise. Read.
For the ungodly and his ungodliness.
For the ungodly and his ungodliness, for the ungodly in the house of merchandise, in the house that is made with hands, is cursed. Read.
Or
both. Read.
alike hateful unto God.
Hateful unto God. Read.
For that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it.
For the house of unrighteousness or the house of merchandise shall be punished together with the builders and the masons that build it. Read.
Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, because in the creature of God they are become an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the wise.
We in the book of Psalms, chapter 23 and verse 6. We're just bouncing back and forth today, brothers and sisters, just to get this, on our brothers and sisters' mind. You got to understand, you got to dwell in the house of the Most High. That's where the Lord is aspiring for us to dwell at. Dwell in the house of the Most High. Get in the house. Submerge yourself in the house. Know you not that you are the temple. You don't want to live in that house of merchandise. You have to buy and sell. You have to continue to negotiate to be in that house. And then when you come into the house and the Most High, you come and you drink freely. You come and you buy with no money. You don't have to buy and sell to be able to negotiate all things are taken care of for you. And that's the beautiful thing about this life. And that's the beautiful thing about the Most High, dwelling in the temple of the Most High. We in the book of Psalms, chapter 23 and verse 6. Read this.
The book of Psalms, chapter 23 and verse 6.
Read.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.
Surely goodness and mercy and grace shall follow me throughout all the days of my life as I travel on this plain. Read.
And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
We in the book of Exodus chapter 25 and verse 8. We coming to an end, brothers and sisters. All praises. Started a little late today. We still going on the same regular time. And all praise to the Most High and His Son. We still got the work done. Dwelling in the house of the Most High versus dwelling in the house of merchandise. Having a spiritual foundation for you to be able to build up your spirit instead of being a vagabond, traveling from place to place amongst nations, going from house to house. Having some spiritual foundation. Having some spiritual discipline. See, the house of merchandise, it looks good on the outside. See, the house of merchandise, it has everything that you want. You can buy and sell anything. You can negotiate for anything. But the house of the Lord, the only thing that it has water, it has bread, it has clothing and covering. Because that's the only thing that we need to be able to sustain us in this life. To be able to sustain us in any life. Is the water of the Most High, is the bread of the Most High, is the clothing of the Most High, and the house to where we dwell in, to where we are covered for the rest of our lives. Forever and ever, as the scripture says. This is the book of Ecclesiastes. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 25 and verse 8. Read this.
Exodus, chapter 25 and verse 8.
Read.
Let them make me a sanctuary.
Let them make me a place to be able to dwell. Read.
That I may dwell among them.
That I may dwell among them. We in the book of As a matter of fact, we in the book of Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 15, and we're going to end it on that. All praise to the Most High. So we in the book of Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 15. Examine yourself and seeing where you living at, brothers and sisters. Examine yourself and seeing where you're resident at. Look back on yourself from new moon to new moon, the time frames of where we have to be able to see ourselves. You know, look at yourself from Passover to Passover. You know, where have you stayed at? Where have you lived at? Where's your residence at right now? Is it in a house of merchandise or is it in a house of prayer? Us as Hebrews, we either be living in the house of prayer, on our way to the house of prayer, standing at the door to the house of prayer, or we need to be on our way to that house of prayer. And if you're in the house of merchandise, you need to evict yourself and amend your ways all the way so you can have access to the house of God. We in the book of Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 15. Read this.
Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 15.
Read.
Then it shall be for a man to burn.
Then it shall be for the sacrifice of a man to burn in the house of merchandise. Read.
For he will take thereof and warm himself.
Take thereof, warm himself. Read.
Yea, he kindleth it and baketh bread.
Kindleth the fire and breaketh the bed to the queen of heaven. Read.
Yea, he maketh a god.
In the house of merchandise, a lot of kindling fires, sacrifices. Read.
And worship.
Bowing down and worshiping idols. Read.
He maketh it a graven image.
A graven image implanted into his spirit to be able to worship and rely on. Read.
And fall it down there too.
And give him all of his praises and worship to the house of merchandise. Read.
He burneth part thereof in the fire.
In the fire and the sacrifice, he burneth his graven image and bowing down. Read.
With part thereof, he eateth flesh.
Roasted the flesh of what he gives and sacrifice unto his God and breaketh the bread. Read.
He roasted roast.
He roasted the roast of the meat and eat. Read.
And is satisfied.
And is satisfied with the meat of Egypt in darkness. Read.
Yea, he warmeth
He
himself.
warmeth himself with the fire that he kindled. Read.
And saith, Aha, I am warm.
I am warm. Read.
I have seen the fire.
I am satisfied. Read.
And the residue thereof. He maketh a god.
He useth it to sustain himself instead of the water and the bread of the word. Read.
Even his graven image.
Even the graven image who he rely on in the house of merchandise. Read.
He falleth down unto it.
He falleth down and prayeth unto the idol that he erected in the house of merchandise. Read.
And worshipeth.
And he worshipped it for its sustainability for his lives. Read.
And prayeth
and giveth his prayers and incense unto the house of merchandise. Read. And saith and commune with the house that was made with hands. Read.
Deliver me.
Deliver me from this darkness that I may be able to continue to kindle fires. Read.
For thou art my God.
But this is my sustainability and this is how I feed myself. Read.
They have not known nor understood. For he had shut their eyes, they cannot see, and their hearts, they cannot understand. And none considers in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I have burned part of it in the fire. Yea, also, I have baked bread upon the coals thereof. I have roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the residue thereof abomination? Shall I fall down to stalk of a tree?
Keep reading.
He feedeth on ashes. A deceived heart had turned him aside. He cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand?
Giving all praise to the Most High and His Son, family. This is a motivation and message for each and every one of us as Israelites, as Hebrews, to continue on that path to enter into the house of prayer and not the house of merchandise. Shalom, family.